Hello there and welcome to News Tonight this Thursday, the 10th day of February 2022. Let's have our top stories.
Brought to you by
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
As starts operations, HIV survey reveals a decline of 0.5% prevalence rate. AIGP Akulo hands over office, leaving 68 cases under investigation. And in sports, Makerere University hosts East Africa Training Workshop for sports executives.
Was brought to you by Everywhere You Go, MTN.
And welcome once again. On sign language, it is Elizabeth Nakakoni, and I am Rukidi Edward Kiijanangoma. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has met a group of 91 youths, formerly supporters of National Unity Platform NUP political party, who have been undergoing mindset change and leadership training at the Institute of Security and Intelligence Studies. According to Colonel Charles Oluka, the Director General of Internal Security Organization, ISO, a part of the 91 were commanders of different NUP youth-led groups who took part in the November 2020 riots and demonstrations around Kampala during and after the electioneering period. While briefing the President, Colonel Oluka said the group was taken through political education and ideology training, including the NRM ideological pillars of patriotism, Pan-Africanism, social economic transformation, and democracy. Other areas were about revolutionary methods of work, mindset change, leadership and discipline, politically motivated crimes and their dangers, among other topics that were made them change agents in their respective areas. He assured the President that the time they have spent with them had not been put to waste. President Yoweri Museveni welcomed the group and urged them to avoid taking part in acts of violence, saying they are only causing problems for themselves. He also called upon them to desist from politics of identity that is almost based on tribes and religions, saying it is counterproductive and diversionary. The President, who also lectured them on the 4 ideological pillars of NRM, said the party from the onset emphasizes prosperity for all Ugandans without segregation and not destruction. The group leader, Sebugwao Ahmed, who introduced himself as General Kikankane, the commander of land forces in NUP, confessed to the President that at the time of arrest, they were determined to disrupt his swearing-in ceremony at Kololo by staging riots across Kampala on orders of their leader, Mr. Kyagulanyi. Sebugwao and the group thanked the President for equipping them through ISU with knowledge about their country.
Nga tuteekateeka okulayira wali ogenda kulayira nga naffe tuteekateeka okulayiza gwe twali tuyita omukulembeze waffe ebiseera ebyo nga batutaddemu ebintu bingi.
The Prime Minister Robina Nabanja has recommissioned the rehabilitated MV Pamba, which had docked at Port Bell, Luzira for nearly 18 years. The vessel will be operated by Mango Tree Group Limited with oversight by Uganda Railways Corporation and the supervision of the Ministry of Works and Transport.
Being grounded in 2005 for lacking international maritime standards, MV Pamba underwent rehabilitation and is now back on the waters.
The rehabilitation of MV Pamba is estimated to have cost Mango Tree Group Limited 28.6 billion Ugandan shillings, with the capacity to carry 22 wagons worth 10,000 tons of cargo. The recommissioned vessel will be plying across Port Bell, Jinja Port, Port Mwanza and Port Kisumu, doing an average of 12 voyages per month.
Water transport is one of the cheapest and safest mode of transport, but which we have not fully exploited. Our Lake Victoria is just here for us. It's there. Fresh waters, God gave us. But we are not yet fully utilizing its potential.
On 18th May 2020, a memorandum of understanding was signed between government and Mango Tree Group Limited to carry out rehabilitation, upgrade, class insure and commission the vessel at its own cost.
We are looking forward to working with the Ugandan government in investing more on transport for the benefit of the people around the Lake Victoria Basin.
As the ministry builds an efficient transport sector, Ugandans need to safeguard all established infrastructure.
A lot of money has been invested. You have heard the MD talking about how much money has been invested, how much money has been borrowed. Please stop the irresponsible acts of vandalizing these facilities.
The business community is optimistic on using the cheaper water transport tariffs that will apply to the vessel.
Even if we are thinking about adding value in a country, but to export 10 million bags of coffee, just as an example, there is no way we can cope without Uganda Railways Corporation and without utilizing these vessels.
We in private sector, when the infrastructure is right, then it leaves us in the business community to use that infrastructure to create more jobs, to make more money, and to make our country very habitable.
MV Pamba is a vessel owned by government and operated by URC on Lake Victoria. Through the MOU, Mango Tree Group Limited was licensed to run its operations till it recovers all its costs. Wadulo Makanold, UBC News, in Port Bell, Luzira.
Uganda has registered a decline in HIV-AIDS prevalence rate from 6.0 in 2016 to 5.5 in 2022. The reduction in HIV-AIDS prevalence is attributed to the safe male circumcision and uptake in taking medication. Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, released the survey report at Uganda Media Center here in Kampala.
Uganda population-based HIV impact survey was carried out from 2020 to 2021, 5 years after the previous one was conducted in 2016. The survey that was carried out in 11,130 households had a sample size of 15,801 women and 11,834 men aged 15 years and older across all the districts of Uganda. The survey shows a decline of 0.5% from the previous survey that was last conducted in 2016, that was 6.0%.
In the entire FIA 2020 survey, samples of adults aged 15 years and older, HIV prevalence was 5.8%, 7.2% among women and 4.3% among men, corresponding to approximately 1.3 million adults living with HIV in Uganda. The prevalence of HIV in adults 15 years and above was higher in urban areas at 7.1% than in rural areas at 5.2%.
Because as you know, in the past we were having rising HIV prevalence in the early 80s, in the early 90s, around 90s, and in 2000, when we stagnated around between 6 and 6.5%. We shot up a little bit in 2004, 7.3%, came back down in 2016 to 6%, and now you can see 5.5%, which is indicating that the number, the HIV prevalence, is actually not shooting out of range as it was doing in the earlier years. And this is expected because we have, as a program, as a country, succeeded in identifying a significant number of the HIV positive individuals and put them on treatment.
The survey further indicates that HIV remains high among women compared to men. The prevalence among women is 7.1, while among men is 3.8%.
Among men, HIV prevalence was highest in the 45 to 49 year age group at 11.1%, and among women, HIV prevalence was highest in the 50 to 54 year age group at 13.6%. The survey reported continued higher HIV prevalence in young women than in young men. The HIV prevalence among young people aged 15 to 24 years was 1.8%.
Greater Masaka remains the highest sub-region with the HIV prevalence at 8.1%. Acholi and the Lango sub-region registered the second highest HIV prevalence at 7.6%. Chigezi sub-region is the third highest in HIV prevalence at 6.3%. Greater Luero is the fourth at 6.2%, Kampala at 6.0%, Bunyoro at 5.5%, Busoga at 4.5%, Teso sub-region at 4.2%, Bugisu sub-region 4.2%. West Nile sub-region registered 2.8%, while Karamoja 2.1%, the lowest in the survey. The reduction in HIV-AIDS prevalence is attributed to the number of factors, including safe male circumcision and uptake in taking medication.
That circumcision is a very important intervention in HIV prevention among men. We have clear data which came through other sources. In Uganda here, there was a randomized control trial in Rakai, which was done by a team from the Rakai Health Sciences Program. There was another study in Kenya, in Western Kenya, and another one in the Orange Farm in South Africa, which demonstrated that circumcision protects young men from acquiring HIV to a level of up to 50 to 60%. So the data are strong, and based on that data, we are actually implementing this program. And as you can see, we're expanding. And we know that, yes, there are some geographical areas where there may be discrepancy between the coverage of circumcision and the HIV incidence and also HIV prevalence and other outcomes. But there could also be other protective factors in those regions. So it's not a single factor. It is a combination of different HIV prevention, HIV care and treatment interventions that will give you the total picture of the impact both in terms of HIV incidence and HIV prevalence, rather than one single factor, whether it is circumcision or other intervention that we may want to talk about. So,
the survey, financed by the US government, is done every 5 years to assess the impact of HIV on the communities and helps policymakers in planning.
With regard to U.S. investment in partnership with Uganda, as I mentioned, since 2003, we've invested over $4 billion in PEPFAR. And as we look at our other activities, in 2020, the sum total of U.S. investment in Uganda was $953 million.
Philip Aguta, UBC News.
Some rather good news there. However, that does not mean that you should not stop protecting yourself from contracting HIV. Assistant Inspector General of Police Grace Akulo has handed over office of the Director of Criminal Investigations to the new Director, Major Tom Magambo, with a backlog of 68 cases. AIGP Akulo says though the office of the CID has challenges, she was able to accomplish some investigations, as we hear in this story.
During 10 years of AIGP Grace Akulo at the Home of Criminal Investigations Directorate, a lot has been achieved. At least 31 high-profile cases, including murder, aggravated robbery, homicide, defilement, gender domestic-based violence, among others, have been handled.
Of which were actually committed in 2018.
Concluded cases include murder of Sheikh in Kampala Metropolitan between 2012 to 2015. Sheikh Abubakar Kiwewa Ibrahim Kiria was shot in 2012, and Sheikh Mustafa Bahiga was killed in 2015. These were investigated and culprits charged to conclusion.
Jamil Mukulu and 37 others before High Court. Pending trial, the case is on pre-trial stage. Disclosure was already made, and they were charged with the murder, terrorism, aggravated robbery, attempted murder, and belonging to ADF, a terrorist organization.
The 2019 murders in Greater Massacre are among major cases investigated to conclusion by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
Dismantle organized criminal groups who are attacking investors. In 2018-2019, they are no more.
Other cases Akulo has successfully investigated are the pension scandal, opium scandal, and UBC scandal. During AIGP Grace Akulo's tenure, the Directorate expanded with 5,292 detectives.
We can have sleepless night to dismantle the criminal syndicates.
In the meantime, there were cases that were not conclusively investigated.
Suspects are yet to be identified. 026 of 2015. Murder of Joan Namazika Kagezi. A lot has been done in murder of Honorable Ibrahim Abriga and Private Koggo Saidi. A lot has been done in the...
At the time of handover office to Major Tomu Magambo, AIGP Grace Akulo has left a backlog of 68 files.
We have 68 cases which are pending High Court to fix time and tell us, and that is the procedure. That one happens not because of their inefficiency, but because of lack of judicial officers.
AIGP Grace Akulo has handed over to successor Major Tom Magambo at the CID headquarters to Kibuli. They toured the offices before conveying instruments of power. AIGP Major General Jackson Bakasumba, the Police Joint Chief of Staff, witnessed the occasion of exchanging guns.
The Chief of Joint Staff.
Major Tomu Magambo is the new director of the Criminal Investigations and has been serving as Analysis Director at the Internal Security Organization, ISO. Abdul Nasili Lubwama, UBC News.
From Kampala, let's go to Karamoja sub-region now, where the government will upgrade health facilities in Karamoja sub-region for the next 5 years, following a €10 million Italian government special funding. This was during the launch of accelerated mass COVID-19 vaccination campaign for Karamoja sub-region held at Boma Ground in Moroto municipality.
Since the reporting of COVID-19 cases on 20th May 2020, Karamoja sub-region has a cumulative cases of 3,071, 34 deaths, and up to 94% recovery rate to date with 2 people in intensive care unit. Dr. Henry Kabali from World Health Organization told UBC that the vaccination campaign in Karamoja region is at 27%.
About 27% checking as of yesterday. So we have every hope that with this accelerated mass vaccination campaign launched by you rather, we are very optimistic that indeed we shall get to the rates of over 70%.
Officials from Ministry of Health, World Health Organization, leaders from Karamoja were at Boma Ground, Moroto Municipality to launch the accelerated mass COVID-19 vaccination campaign for Karamoja sub-region. Every eligible person must get immunized, with a target of over 500,000 to be immunized in Karamoja.
Our parents cannot come, we should go to them. If you know somebody, drag them, let them cry, let them laugh. Whatever they complain, make sure that they are vaccinated.
508,632 in this region, but we have covered only 10%. And so we really want to see that now the vaccines are in this region, we are able to accelerate.
Meanwhile, on congestion at Moroto Regional Referral Hospital, Minister of Health Jane Ruth Acheng revealed that government will use up to 10 million euros from Italian government to upgrade health facilities in the region.
We're having challenges in terms of numbers. We're treating coughs in the referral, malaria in the referral. So I pray that we upgrade some of the health centers to decongest that. Our consultants take that good time to attend to those special cases.
Special funding to upgrade facilities. 10 million euros, again, Italian support, will be used in this region in the next 5 years to upgrade facilities.
Poor performing districts in taking vaccines are Amdat, Karenga, Neblatuk, among others.
Violence in most families and early marriages in most communities. Most people have lost jobs because of you, Corona.
To Teso now, where unity and hard work is part of what will permanently remain on the legacy of fallen Iteso Cultural Union leader Emorimor Augustine Osuban. While paying their tribute, members of parliament emphasized the need for cultural institutions to work with government in promoting unity, development and harmonious living. The motion to pay tribute to the fallen Teso leader was moved by Prime Minister Robina Nabanja and seconded by Leader of Opposition Matthias Mpuga. Henry Okrut reports.
Staring at his subjects who trickled in one by one at Parliament was this portrait of fallen leader of the Iteso Cultural Union, Augustine Osuban. The arrival of Deputy Speaker of Parliament Anita Among Anet was just in time for the afternoon session to officially kick off.
The deceased was a paramount chief of Iteso Cultural Union, His Highness Emorimor Papa Iteso, Augustine Kadugala Osuban.
With the mover and seconders of the motion present in the House, it was time to hear more about the Emorimor.
1965, he taught agriculture economics, farm management and agriculture extension at RFI College, Agricultural College.
And I can stand here to attest to his humility, to his deep intellect.
A peacemaker who never meddled into politics as indicated by members of Parliament. His leadership was just exemplary.
Papa Emorimor was always reminding us that some of the very clear and good attributes of culture that we should always carry forward as Iteso is speaking our language as Iteso.
I used to call him the Triple H. He was a humble man, he was an honest man, and he was a hard-working man.
Emorimor of Teso understood the concept of conflict resolution, understood the concept of peaceful resolutions of conflict.
Not only was he hardworking, but also a uniting factor from whom a lot was learnt.
Then he told me, but I'm glad you visited Teso, but don't leave Teso with nothing. Then I asked what? He said, at least go back when you know the anthem of Teso. Then I said, but I don't even know a word. I only know Biaibosa. He said, now I'll give you this gentleman. There was a gentleman behind him who taught me a few lines in the anthem. And to date, I still remember those lines that start, Emuria koliai koliai, Emuria koliai koliai, koja ai puchkai na paki na jaiteso.
There were also some pending issues that some MPs say he would have wished to see government do while he lived.
When Papa Emorimor was addressing the council in 2008, I remember this, he said government of Uganda had earmarked 250 million to build a guest house in Soroti for Emorimor. Madam Speaker, this money has never reached the cultural union up to now.
His wish was to see and to witness the cattle compensation take place in Teso. It is so unfortunate that he is no more and he will not be there to witness. That is in case it is to happen.
Emorimor Augustine Osuban died on Saturday last week from Lago National Referral Hospital, and his burial is slated for 19th February 2022. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Now, members of the Civil Society Coalition on Oil and Gas have appealed to members of Parliament to disregard the proposed Uganda National Mining Company and the National Mineral Protection Force in the new Mining and Minerals Bill 2021. This is during a consultative meeting with members of the Parliamentary Environment and Natural Resources Committee here in Kampala.
Are concerned over inclusion of the proposed Uganda National Mining Company and the National Mineral Protection Force in the new Mining and Minerals Bill 2021. They argue that the inclusion of both organs will frustrate potential investors in the sector. The coalition members, led by James Mohindo and Lynn Gitu, called for the enactment of the bill.
The law is timely, and we think it should be handled expeditiously. However, we are concerned that little notice was given to the general public to participate in this process.
Our biggest issue is on the rules that will govern how this company is managed. Are we prepared for it? Are we prepared as a country to get state equity participation?
The State Minister in the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Okasai Opolot, assured government support to the committee to enable it consult stakeholders for purposes of coming up with a good legislation.
In the ministry, will facilitate you, will give you the information necessary to enable you come up with a law which is pro-people.
The committee chairperson, Dr. Emmanuel Otala, revealed that the proposed bill is expected to lay a good foundation for the mineral subsector in the country.
That their submission has enriched our minds, and that it is going to be a submission that will go a long way in catering for the interests of the citizens of this country.
The proposed bill is expected to repeal the Mining Act of 2003.
UNB
MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily bundle of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 25 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 65 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 165 MBs. Dial *150 *10 hash or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Owechtiwa Peter Maiga, the Prime Minister of Buganda, states, let us all take the necessary precautions.
Self-medication is always very dangerous. We should leave medical matters to the medical personnel. It's only a healthy population that can produce wealth. And if you want to work for your well-being, you must care about your health first.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and partners.
Transact and win money after money with Airtel Money. 1.5 billion shillings in cash prizes up for grabs. The more you transact, the higher your chances of winning. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Raising voices.
Like other fathers across Uganda, I'm standing up to say no to violence against children. I commit to give my children a violence-free childhood. As fathers, we can make Uganda safer for our children. I promise to speak out when I see violence.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Start the year off with My Airtel 4G smartphone. You get to enjoy free 1 GB data valid for a month and 100% bonus data every month for 3 months at only 250,000 Uganda shillings. This includes free data spread over 3 months worth 86,500 Uganda shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 Uganda shillings only. Visit the nearest Airtel shop and get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back from that break, and this is News Tonight here on UBC TV. The Uganda National Examinations Board will conduct this year's examinations starting October till December. While releasing the 2022 examinations calendar in Kampala, UNEB Executive Director Dan Odongo said Uganda Certificate of Education examinations will be followed by primary leaving examinations and Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education examinations. Normal registration of all candidates has commenced.
Uganda National Examinations Board, UNEB, has released the 2022 examinations activities and calendar that starts with registration of candidates. The board has given school heads 5 months to register candidates starting February to 31st May. Late registration will attract a surcharge of 50% for UCE and UACE and 100% for PLE of the total registration fees. Registration fees have not been changed at all levels of examinations, with PLE paying 34,000, UCE 164,000 and UACE 186,000 shillings. According to UNEB Act 2021, Section 32, warns against misappropriation of examination fees.
An offence attracts a very hefty penalty of 2,000 currency points, and each currency point is defined as 20,000, so you can do the arithmetic. A very hefty jail term of 10 years is in the law. And if anybody is found to have registered private candidates or candidates who are not under the universal education program, this person will be required to pay twice the amount of fees that they have embezzled. Secondly, they will be treated in accordance with the laws of this country on fraud.
UNEB will provide 60 days to display candidates' registers starting from 1st August to September 30th. Parents have been provided a message system to check the status of the children's registration.
To start UCE with the briefing of candidates on the 14th of October, and this examination should run up to the 18th of November. And the Uganda National Examinations Board will follow the abridged curriculum or the shortened curriculum and leave out those skills and competencies that have been removed from the current curriculum.
Meanwhile, Uganda National Examinations Board, in the first phase of validating examination centers, has registered 71 new ones in primary. It is currently in the second phase of validation. The exercise looks at schools that have increased population of learners.
You should have laboratories with adequate facilities. If you have O-level, we would expect you to have at least one laboratory, even if it's combined for physics, chemistry, and biology.
I'm Navka Farida and Sana Anet in Kampala.
To Ntoroko district now, where Ntoroko district cattle farmers have asked the government to construct valley dams in their region following the persistent drought. The most affected sub-counties are Wiramule, Rwebsengo and Kanara. We have more in this story.
The district has been hit by a drought that has affected livestock and escalated livestock diseases.
So far, all the animals are poor. They don't have pastures. They don't have water.
Ntoroko District Production Office records show that in Wiramule sub-county alone, 200 cattle have died since November 2021.
We fear that by the end of March, the number can go higher, much higher than that.
The district is still in quarantine to contain foot and mouth disease that led to the closure of cattle markets.
And when we were put in quarantine, markets were also closed. Therefore, the source of income for the town as a local revenue has totally reduced.
The drought has affected farmlands and grazing areas. The pastoralists crossed to DR Congo where the risks of the ADF.
There is also a challenge of insecurity from DRC. So there is cattle wrestling from the other side. So when we reach there and they wrestle your cattle or they raid some good number, you run back.
Farmers appeal to Uganda Wildlife Authority to allow them graze in Semliki Wildlife Reserve. On the other hand, the animals drink stagnant water to survive as farmers dig ponds.
Now, government has secured at least $178 million to be invested in a project aimed at conserving forests, especially in game parks and refugee hosting districts. This has been revealed by the Principal Forest Officer, Minister of Water and Environment, Bob Kazungu, who is also the focal person in the Investigating in Forest project.
Refugee hosting districts have been proven to be the highest encroachers on forests, hence a big threat to the environment because it alters weather conditions. To address this challenge, government through the Ministry of Water and Environment have embarked on a project dubbed Investing in Forests Land Protected Areas for Climate Smart Development, which is expected to tackle the fate of environmental degradation, especially deforestation in the refugee hosting districts and game parks.
To ensure that we sustain and manage forests of protected areas, but also we increasing revenues and incomes for the communities and for the country generally through tourism investments. Communities that are adjacent to those forests, or the indigenous communities of the likes of Batwa, have already a framework for them prepared by the project to support them in many ways, to make sure that they are living in harmony.
The Batwa, an indigenous community from western Uganda, had their settlement in Ngahinga and Semliki National Parks displaced, without gazetted areas prepared for them. According to the Executive Director, BioVision Africa, Geoffrey Kamese, this 5-year project will help resettle the target communities where the project will be carried out.
Government should come in, resettle these communities, give them land so that they can also lead an independent life. Otherwise now they are kind of internally displaced communities in their own country. They don't have any physical address that they can show that after leaving the forest, this is where we were settled.
However, some analysts question the project coordinators to clearly streamline investment models and be mindful about value addition, which will eventually increase on the tax revenue collected in the long run.
You see, we're talking about plant trees. But I don't see where they say they are going to do value addition. I'm seeing them saying, okay, we're going to support tourism, but I don't see very clearly how the tourists will be affected.
And hadn't received any communication ever since the lockdown was lifted. So we wanted to know at what point do we come in and what the way forward, what's the next steps for the project.
Targeted areas for this project include the Albertine region, West Nile, and refugee hosting communities. I am Mary Namkose for UBC News.
The Director General, Uganda Investment Authority, Robert Mukiza, says role play will ensure economic opportunities are restored. He was speaking at a conference aimed at building foundations that will lead to climate-smart economic partnerships between Uganda and the United Kingdom.
It has hosted the first virtual Green Growth Conference to deepen the economic partnership and increased collaboration between Uganda and UK. The conference renews commitment to Ugandan business, helping them access the latest expertise and investment needed to support cleaner, greener growth in Uganda.
There's an argument here that, we want to industrialize Uganda. We have quite a number of raw materials in our country. And the reason His Excellency took this decision is to say we should stop exporting jobs outside our country. We should ensure that we go up the whole value chain of our raw materials. That's very important for us. But how do we ensure that these parks are green?
Muchiza says the catalyst to invest and innovation is sustained growth, which results in new economic activities.
So we are going to develop feasibility studies and master plans for these industrial parks. Definitely, for me, this is an opportunity to leapfrog technology and ensure that our parks are green. Our parks are sustainable. Our parks are not what I call eyesores on the environment.
Dr. Richard Irumba of KCCS says green growth requires driving forward economic growth while ensuring that natural assets continue to provide the resources and environmental services.
Many of these challenges, many of these hazards are related to climate change. You talk about flooding. Why do we experience flooding? Because the environment has largely been abused. Wetlands have been encroached on. Different catchment areas have been encroached on. So those are the issues that result into floods.
The Green Climate Fund would only fund something which is highly innovative and really exciting. And so we've really kind of pitched up our vision to become something really quite radically different.
Ministry of Water and Environment estimated climate change will cost Uganda about 3 to 5% of GDP, or between $3.2 to 5.9 billion per year by 2050 if no action is taken. Jane Nyoramchia reporting for UBC.
The LC5 chairperson of Wakiso District has called upon Ministries of Health and Finance to release allowances of village health teams who took part in the 2 campaigns of COVID and polio vaccinations in Wakiso District. He revealed this during the handover or ceremony of motorcycles and identification cards to village health teams in Wakiso District through the School of Public Health, Makerere University, with support from the UK government.
Over 380 village health teams in Wakiso District have received identification cards and handed over motorcycles to facilitate their movement and also focus on capacity building, supervision and motivation. School of Public Health, Makerere University is implementing a project dubbed a health systems approach to strengthening community health, including the links between village health teams, health facilities and the community in Chengera Town Council, Katabi and Busi sub-counties.
Coordinators to traverse their communities in offering services, but also to support the health centers in these areas to be able to deliver community services. These health centers not only offer services at their sites, but also go to the communities to offer vaccination, to give out mosquito nets, to offer.
We are suggesting that as a district you can provide a piece of land, some requesting the public institution of Makerere in conjunction with the donors, the development partners, to come up with a project of establishing a training, a permanent training for these VHTs. For instance, now of recent we have got a pandemic of COVID, which has different challenges. And
LC5 chairperson Wakiso District, Matia Bwanika, noted that there is a friction between Ministry of Health and village health teams in Wakiso. A challenge, he says, needs immediate fixing.
Of recent, the 2 cases is about vaccination of COVID and immunization of polio. Those 2 programs were well funded by donors. The ministry came to us, they launched the program, they trained our officers, they requested us to mobilize masses. We did it, we mobilized even the VHTs to do the voluntary work. And they were very clear in committing and commissioning these VHTs. They allow us very little money, about 10,000 shillings per person. But you can't imagine, till today these people have been failed to be paid.
Village health teams appreciated the gesture by the School of Public Health, Makerere University, highlighting that the motorbikes will help them reach hard-to-reach areas, thus curbing on disease occurrence. Zahara Abigaba, UBC Tonight.
Ministry of Teso Affairs has delivered the presidential pledge of 2016 by erecting a 4-classroom block and a 5-stand pit latrine at Obalanga Comprehensive Senior Secondary School in Kapelebyong District at a cost of 232 million shillings. Local leaders say the structures will improve academic students' enrollment and performance.
Obalanga Comprehensive Senior Secondary is a government-aided school which President Museveni pledged on 25th May 2005. It started operation in 2011 with limited learning space, forcing some students to learn under trees. In 2019, the school's administration wrote to the President through the Ministry, Teso Affairs, about the unfulfilled pledges of the school's facility.
The classroom block and offices were funded in 2020-2021 was 232,617,509 shillings only. Site handover was done on 16th December 2020. That block that were toured.
Ministry of Teso Affairs has also extended such similar interventions to other districts of Teso.
We have been able to do similar investments in Kumi Municipality, Bukedia District, Karaki, Ngora, and Serere. There were 6 classroom blocks of the same type in those districts that the Ministry of Health has supported, financed, and worked with the district local governments to construct.
Kapera Byong District parents and TESO must send learners to school.
Because the future of any family, of any community, of any sub-county or district, or even a people, is in the hands of the educated children of that community. And if we do not send our kids back to school, we are killing the future of our own people.
Local leaders and school administrators must also protect government facilities in schools.
Now the students are there is some security. When the holiday comes, the students will not be here. We shall be having animals loitering and trespassers. So we want to appeal to the management to give a helping hand to the administration to have all what is here protected.
Take disciplinary measures for anybody who recklessly, carelessly mismanages public assets by law must be punished. Whether you're a child, whether you're a parent, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a counselor, we must protect public property because it's part of our duty to be accountable. So we want these assets to be managed very well so that we can hand over to the next generation.
I'm Nafka Farida and Joseph Oko.
The ugly vice of denying the girl child equal opportunity to education has manifested during this post-COVID-19 pandemic period that witnessed schools reopening. Take a watch.
Though many parts of the country witnessed a reduced return to school of the girl child, the western part can proudly say those numbers were minimal. But despite that, appeal from Timbitwi, the girls' secondary school in Bushenyi district, is for parents to provide equal education opportunities rather than early marriage.
They are killing the generation. Now, instead of the girls being in schools, they are leaders of tomorrow. They are, they are mothers of tomorrow, mothers of integrity. Now you get a young girl at an early age of 18 get married, and you think the generation will continue.
The head teacher, Cheibare Girls Secondary School in Mitoma District, Dora Ahabwe, also shares the same opinion and calls for stern action.
So those parents, I'm encouraging them that those parents whose daughters are not in school, that they should take their daughters in school so they get the best education.
It is true that when you educate a girl child, you are educating the whole nation. Since the girl child is going to become a mother who is learned can make a very good home.
After a sustained effort by the National Resistance Movement, our women embraced education and are now placed in many national leadership positions.
We'll now be taking another short break, but when we return, we'll be looking at sports.
Brought to you by
How to get points.
The thing goes clink, clink, clink. Woo.
Grab an ice-cold bottle of Pepsi Max today and drink to your bold lifestyle. Enjoy maximum taste with no sugar. Now available at a shop near you. Maximum taste, no sugar.
Your MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily bundle of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 25 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 65 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 165 MBs. Dial *150 *10 hash or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN.
actually muhango. They actually dong dit. They bagishu humoba fubalfu. It means king size freshness for all. Move It Family Soap is giving you a fresh start for your family. This soap is indeed so big. Tagwerera muwangazi. Ate it has a great kawowo. Unaba, no naba, kare no nabi dala. Available in coconut, aloe vera, lemon, and rose. Find the king size Move It Family Soap in all Dukas. Next supermarkets close to you. Move It all day confidence.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Dial *175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back. Let's have a look now at what's happening in the world of sports. The Association of Uganda University Sports is hosting a high-level East African training workshop for National University Sports Federation executives. The theme of the workshop is the core of good governance in sports organization.
Uganda Capital is hosting a 2-day East Africa training workshop for university sports executives.
Today's workshop is aimed at training the National University Sports Federation executives to improve our work as we promote university sports in Eastern Africa. We hope we could do good governance, improve our leadership, PR, among others.
The theme, which is the core of good governance in sports organization, dictates that finance management in sport is a key topic for discussion.
Those various funders, they are looking at specific areas in funding proposals, and also knowing that globally there are millions of other stakeholders who are vying for the same funds. So if the members here, they are to write winning proposals, they must be professional in their approach, but also in the way they make their budgets. They should make the budgets that are appealing.
Membership development in sports organizations, communication and public relations, and reinforcing a good corporate governance and ethical behaviors were also discussed.
One of the key areas is that we need to professionalize sports. It's very important that sport is professionalized. We need to run according to our rules and constitution. Sports is about rules, the constitution, the charter, ethical behavior. We need to have monitoring and evaluation. We need to have the necessary institutional frameworks like ethics commissions. We need to have disciplinary committees, questions around having a strategic plan, monitoring and evaluation, and being able to embrace new technology in order to be able to work in this 21st century where governance and ethical behavior is very critical.
The workshop attracted participants from the neighborhood that appreciated its relevance.
It's adding a lot of value because we've been doing things from a position whereby they've been done before. But now things are changing. We are getting the kids are very dynamic, and I think we need to upgrade our way of looking at things, our way of doing things, so we're able to give some better delivery of service to our students.
The workshop that ends on Friday starts the process that returns sport to universities post-COVID-19 lockdown. John Barnes, Sentamo, reporting.
Now, Kampala region is a hub for sports enthusiasts, but there is a new region of young spectators that is coming up. Now, West Nile is a new region in sports that boasts of being the best football supporting region. Emorimor gives us more.
Senegal's triumph at the Africa Cup of Nations and the trophy parade in Dakar with thousands of spectators was a sign enough how the game is loved across the continent. In Uganda, the love of football relates to the national team, the Cranes. This passion has trickled down to local clubs. The traditional clubs KCC FC, Express FC and Sports Club Villa have created a fan base, though the league is not that competitive. Just like in the 80s, the traditional die-hard fans still exist. As the new generation in sport keep mushrooming, new clubs have cropped up. It is match day in Arua. Arua Hill FC or Police FC, a club from Kampala. The excitement and enthusiasm among the local fans is high. From the city suburbs to the roads heading to the stadium, the painting of red and black, white is all over.
The reason why I support Kangola, he has brought for us the happiness in Arua. It has been a long time we have been waiting for. This the happiness. I thank for the management, whatever he has brought for us here in A Series, because they have just given us the series.
It is not only about supporting the beautiful game. Businesses like sale of sports jerseys is booming.
The sales here are many. Actually make a lot of money. Gives us as agents these jerseys at 45,000, then we sell them at 50,000, and the market is okay. Sometimes they trust us and give us a lot of the jerseys to sell, and then we bring their money afterwards.
Building a fan base is not easy, although Arua Hill FC has taken a positive direction, and with the construction of the new stadium, the club that sits fourth on the Premier League table could compete favorably among the big boys.
Interesting. There, of course, soccer games without fans is no fun at all. Now, finally, National Enterprise Corporation NEC FC has played a match with Kisugu FC that ended in a draw. The club manager, Brian Buhanda, appealed to government for a football pitch where the club can train.
NEC FC, targeting to enter Super League, has hosted Kisugu FC and the match ended up in draw. NEC FC manager Buhanda Brian encouraged his team members to train and appealed to the government to set aside land for a football pitch.
And today we are honored and glad that we hosted Kisugu FC, where we managed to have a game that was a draw, 0-0. We still have challenges of prey fields, more so in Kampala, where there is scarcity of land. The government needs to set aside land that can be used as prey fields for football, because people still need the game. That's one of the biggest challenges that I can see that is going to affect the football game going forward.
The coach Lucha Mike said this match sets pace for future success.
Kugamba mpira abagulabye ref chat koze 2 penalties, so now this mpira gudibaze very poor officiation. I think it's the reason we drew. Now we are going to come back strong our next game.
With what the referee has officiated today, we have shared the spoils at another game here at Bugolobi. We took a point away and we are thus satisfied.
Captain wa team ya NEC tusambye lero tubadde tusamba Kisugu, tubadde waka mupira guwedde 0-0 nga bwe tubadde era nga bwe kibadde tusambye bulungi. In fact fa abasinze ofuna emikisa naye team eze ne defendinga bulungi ne tumanaginga kujjayo akabonero kamu kokka.
For this bulletin, but before we leave you, let's have a quick reminder of our top stories.
Brought to you by
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Is tonight's MV Pamba ferry that had been grounded for 18 years starts operations. HIV survey reveals a decline of 0.5% prevalence rate. AIGP Akulu hands over office, leaving 68 cases under investigation. And in sports, Makerere University hosts East Africa Training Workshop for sports executives.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
And that's all we had time for. Thank you so much for having kept us company. On sign language, it has been Elizabeth Nakakoni, and I am Rukidi Edward Kiijanangoma, wishing you a blessed night.
This weekend on UBC.
Music has been really a big thing in my life. It's been a way I deal with different things. As many people know, Northern Uganda for about 20 years was going through this turbulence of, LRA rebels that put people, displaced people in the camps, abducted children, killed. I lost my father to that same insurgency.
I didn't dream to become a musician. Due to the trauma, my very first dream was to become a soldier.
Wow.
I really wanted to.